This is the ultimate guide to how to build and run a team like you have X-ray vision and you know all the secrets behind what makes a team work, what makes it high performing, and frankly, how you create the greatest leverage to produce the impact that you need to produce running a team. Meaning, we want to get more stuff done with a high performing team, not a team that's stuck, not a team that's looking for you to have all the answers, not a team who can't do anything until you make decisions, a high performing team that knows the right work to work on and does the right work and delivers results. Let's talk about it. You might be familiar with the Tuckman Model for team development. This is known as forming, storming, norming, and performing. So we got a good graphic there to help you understand sort of the typical view into forming, storming, norming, and performing. The reason we bring this up right away, and here in a minute we're going to talk about a different model, but the reason we bring this up right away is because this is the known and understood journey or the maturity cycle, if you will, of a team and how it comes together. So let's get into the specific attributes of the Tuckman model real quick just to get context. The forming stage. This is the beginning. Everybody's polite. In some cases, it feels like it's honeymoon. Everything is good. It's going to be great. We're going to be awesome. All these great things. A lot of image management happens here. A lot of, I'm a team player. Let's all work nice together. But there's also some uncertainty. There's also some sort of trepidation of, I wonder how this will work. That's all happening in the forming stage. In addition to this in the forming stage, 100% looking at the leader to give all the direction. So in the forming stage, the leader is the one who's telling them sort of exactly what's happening and how it's happening. They need a lot of direction. So in other words, don't expect in the forming stage for your team to come together quickly, crash the boards and start getting results. That would be unusual and not typical when you're developing your initial team and you're getting started out. They're going to look to you as the leader for the direction so they know what to work on and how to work on it. The storming phase is whenever they're coming together, people start to have elevated perspective, they're opinionated, there's some power struggles, there's some differences in working styles, people are getting closer to the right work, there's reaction, there's confusion, there's sort of a feeling of like not necessarily wanting to have so much leadership direction. They want more autonomy. But in this phase, there's a lot of like wrinkles in the process. There's a lot of like uncertainty in how we're all going to work together to get the right results. There's some competing agendas in most cases, and there's going to be a strong need and desire to start seeing things smooth out from a process perspective and for autonomy and how they actually can work together as a cohesive team. So there's a lot of thoughts around how do we build trust? How do we get things to make sense? How do we stop reworking things? How do we work better together, right? So there's a lot more friction, but usually it's oriented towards the ideal results-based sort of thinking, but they don't know how to get there. So what they really need from a leader is them to start showing up with clarity, to show up with a rhythm of business, to start helping them move more functionally together as a team. And so the leader has to do more of an active role in the team cohesion, trust building, communication, collaboration, all that kind of stuff to move it into the next step, which is the norming phase. In the norming phase, this is where everybody has come together. Conflicts are actually being well managed. They're feeling like things are making sense. They feel like they understand how to work together. Trust is built. Communication is clear. Processes are in place. We can go from ideas to execution. We can see the tasks that are needed. We understand where the most impact is. We're much better at having instincts and understandings of team strengths and what we can do well together and sort of our individual contributors and their domains of expertise versus how we work collectively and collaboratively, especially with our various meeting types like working sessions, workshops, unique sessions like thrash and spike, which are sessions that I always promote because the thrash and the spike move you towards action when there's ambiguity. So there's a whole lot of team participation in this phase, and there's a strong understanding of how to commit and get things done. And then there's the performing stage. This is where all the great work is happening. You have a high-performing team. They communicate well. They collaborate well. They understand how to source the right information from the right places. They're getting the right work done in the right order. They're using each other well. There's a lot of leverage. There's a lot of trust. There's a lot of transparency and collaboration. In this stage, you have the highest performing components in place. So you've got rhythms of the business in place. You've got clear expectations. You're driving towards results, and everybody on the team knows how to get there. That's what's happening in this stage. This is what great teams do, and this is how they function together. And this is ultimately what you're trying to produce is a high-performing team in this stage. And that brings the next question. How do you get there? How do you get as quickly as possible into this performance-rich, everybody's aligned, everybody's collaborating, everybody's getting the right work done, extremely efficient and effective? How do you get to this stage as quick as possible? That's what we're going to talk about next. First off, let's jump in with the leader and the leader's mindset. From your perspective, you need to be in what I call the me, we, all of us paradigm. So this is shifting from me as an individual contributor, relatively selfish and self-focused. These are my agendas. This is what I want. This shows up whenever you are the leader going to a team. You already have an agenda. You are extracting information out of them. That is a very me-oriented state. The we state is when you're looking at the entire team, you're saying, hey, this team, all of us here in the we state, what can we do? How can we get where we want to go? This is an empowering state. This is where you're looking directly into the team, and you're looking at how you can help the team grow and become, fertile and very productive, right? So this is a we mindset. And then all of us is where you're looking more broadly at the organization, and you're trying to see how the organization, all of us in the organization, can win and succeed. So as we look through these lenses, we get better and better at how we organize our teams and we run our teams. And the first thing is you've got to have the mindset, at least of the we state or the all of us state, to guide your team in a healthy way into them being the genius, them being the ones who actually get the right work done, because you want to be able to show up with questions and have the team produce answers and be in a we sort of a component. What we want to do here is we want to shift our thinking to how do I get what I want out of this team, to how does the team get where they need to go together based on our business objectives. So that's the big paradigm shift that we start with. And then we move into really understanding how you can orchestrate the best performing team, setting the right conditions in place for you to have a great team that works together well and gets the results you want. So let's talk about that. I like to think of this in 4 pieces. Know the team, connect the team, align the team, support the team. Those are the 4 things that we're going to step through. When we say know the team, what are we talking about? We're actually saying know the individuals and help the individuals know each other, so that the team knows each other and you know them. The way we get there is we do assessments like the Gallup StrengthsFinder, one of my favorites. This is fully integrated in all of my work because your top 5 strengths are huge in how you perform and how you show up. And obviously your bottom 5 strengths are going to be your biggest blind spots. So when we help the team understand each other and their top 5 strengths and their bottom strengths, then we can really, really help them understand their interaction model together. And the more we do to create trust, intimacy, and awareness with each other, where expectations are clear and understanding each other and empathy, we're going to move faster because we have more awareness of who these people are in the team and how they work. So strengths, great way to do it, the Gallup StrengthsFinder. Next part of that is the working genius. This is Patrick Lencioni's model, the working genius. And that helps us understand which of the 6 zones in the working genius model this person is most likely to experience joy, where they most likely to experience friction or frustration, and then where do they have general comfort and competency, but not necessarily going to thrive and love it, but they're going to be able to get it done. One of the key things about the working genius model is the 6 zones don't indicate capability. All they're really indicating is where you're likely to experience joy, come alive in your genius, versus where you're most likely to be frustrated, burn out, and say like, hey, this isn't for me, even though you're probably capable of it. So when we do the working genius in the team, we get to understand where people fit in these 6 zones. And that helps us understand everything from the beginning phases of when we're in the wonder and invention, all the way down to, enablement, tenacity, getting it done, right? So it's kind of the entire journey of work and who fits in those spots most easily and most conveniently, or most successfully is probably a better way to say that, because they thrive, even though people may have competencies across the map. When you're thinking about this horizontal view of how the team works together from ideation all the way to completion. So when we have these assessments, the whole goal is to set up the stage or in the environment for us to walk through those things together. I like to use the Strengthology software to do that. The Strengthology software lets us see where we go from individual strengths to the team strengths. So we can see individuals sort of together in their top 5 or even their top 10. So we can immediately see it. And then we can actually compare each person's top strengths together side by side, and we can have a robust conversation around that. So that's a great way to get started in understanding the team, is to do a session where the strengths are brought together side by side and you talk through them. And that creates a ton of empathy, awareness, and there's several things that you can do activity wise to create engagement around that process, make it fun, also make it interactive, but more importantly, help really connect the dots for people to see how others in the team can do the best work. So we want to do our best as a leader. We want to do our best to set the stage for that kind of conversation to happen. So not just take the assessments and let them read it, but instead you want to facilitate the connecting tissue around those assessments, and maybe even bring in a coach or a consultant like myself so that those things can be ultra clear and you can start showing how that applies to the work you're going to do. That brings us to the next step, connect. We want to connect the team to each other, right? We want to make sure that there's good communication. We want to make sure that we use processes that allow people to be heard. One of the biggest issues that we have in teams is the loudest voice wins. We have a lot of bulldozing going on. Extroverts tend to get the floor. Introverts sort of shrink back. We're not actually tapping into the collective genius because voices aren't being heard. So what we want to do is we want to change that interaction model as often and frequently as we can so that everybody gets heard and we work visually together. We facilitate more of the dynamic discussion where inviting people into the discussion to give contribution and feedback. So we ask questions like, how might we accomplish this goal? And then around the table, people give their best ideas and you're documenting it on a whiteboard or in a Miro board, and you're doing whatever you can to actually make this a shared process where everybody can contribute. When you do that, you show very clearly that the team matters and it's not already a pre-decided agenda, because what we really want to do is we want the individual's expertise to come forward. And most people have answers to the questions that you have as a leader, but when you show up with all the answers, they will sit back. They will not contribute if you're not willing to hear them or if you shut them down when they make their suggestions. And a lot of times what's actually happening is people are interpreting the problems in different ways and the opportunities in different ways. So we need to be able to have a facilitation model where we're really comfortable getting the team to share their thoughts and ideas, not just in a brainstorming state, but in a productive problem-solving state. Because as people work through problems together and then we align on the right problems, we're able to produce the results, and the team has already bought in on why we're doing that work. If you show up with solutions to all the questions and answers to all the questions, you're just doling out tasks to everybody, well, you're really taking away all their autonomy to be able to provide their expertise and intelligence. And instead, you're treating them more like robots where they just have to do the tasks you've given them, the task mastering process. And nobody wants to be told exactly what to do and how to do it. What they really want to do is they want to show up well, they want to contribute, and they want to be a part of the overall solution. And then they want to do their part individually to get to that answer. So a great leader will set the stage by connecting the team with the right kind of activities that allow them to be a part of the problem solving process and the defining of objectives and the results you're chasing, and then how you actually space that out over time so that they can deliver the results with autonomy and some certainty. And part of that process always includes trust. And so what we have to be really good at as a leader is creating an environment filled with trust. These are trust building things. These are not trust reducing or trust busting things, right? So some of the big things that we need to think about is when we say we're going to do something, do we do it, right? That's the say-do ratio. Whenever somebody on the team commits to it, do they follow through with it, right? We need to make sure that everybody is enhancing trust, because trust is great leverage. Everything moves faster when there's high trust. When there's low trust, then you have a lot of backroom conversations, you have a lot of doubt, fear, uncertainty, and doubt play in. And then you start having people who need to have a meeting about the meeting and then a meeting after the meeting because everybody's trying to compare notes and stuff and see what really is going on and what's true. And when you're in a low trust environment, everything slows down, a lot of confusion occurs. And of course, confusion is the seed that never grows, right? It just sort of like bring everything down because confusion creates chaos. And what we really need is turn confusion into clarity. And so we need to have a high trust environment. We need to bring people towards the right answer with communication, with clarity, and have them engage and participate. So it doesn't seem like everything is always in this weird cycle of, I don't know, weird gaps of information and them not actually feeling connected, right? Because we want the team to feel connected. And we like to look at the SCARF model as a way to understand, are we establishing with the individuals and together the right sort of attributes as a leader? So we're looking at status, certainty, autonomy, relatedness, and fairness. And I've talked about this in other videos here, but we want to see status go up, certainty go up, autonomy go up, relatedness, which is their connection to each other, and fairness, right? That everything is fair, that we operate in a fair way where we're consistent and providing clarity. The third step is aligning the team. So we want to align the team on the right work. So we want to directionally move them from where we are today to where we're going next. One of the most effective ways to do this is the 4 core questions. What's working? What's not working? What are our biggest blockers and challenges? What's most important right now? So when we do this with the team and we ask the team these 4 questions, especially when we do it in a Miro board or a whiteboard or in our software, what happens is the team is able to contribute and tap into their genius. I call this tapping into the collective genius. The team is able to contribute their answers, and those answers all can come out, especially when you do it silently together, right? So this is not people going around verbally saying what's going on. They're actually documenting it first. So everybody can purge all those ideas and problems and stuff out for blockers and challenges. And then that can be surfaced And then you can interact with all those problems without really worrying about who is suggesting them, who is advocating for them. Instead, you can just look at what is this telling us? Because so much about great leadership is seeing root problems and being able to analyze the real problem underneath it and not being too worried about the messenger, right? Because a lot of times our guys know exactly what's going on. They're just not being heard. So we want to create a situation where they can be heard. And the 4 core questions is a great way to do that. And you can go through that process. And in fact, if you go to 4corequestions.com, I've got a whole video series around that and a walkthrough of exactly how to do it. So you can do an impact analysis, an effort analysis, and you can understand the project size as you start to tackle those. So there's a whole pathway to successfully planning using just the simplicity of the 4 core questions. The whole idea here is we want to align the team around what matters most, what the biggest impact is. And we want to give them clarity of what to do next. So as a minimum, we want to see that in 30-day increments. I like to think about it as 30, 60, 90-day planning. And so if we can align the team on what's going to happen in the next 90 days, and they can see the big idea that's guiding us, this North Star, right? This North Star that's guiding us for the next 90 days, they can then say, here's the big outcomes I want in 90 days, 60 days, and 30 days. And then the team can start to see the bigger picture, but still be short enough where they can wrap their arms around it and then move through the 90 days to produce those results by doing the right work at the right time. Those things can be broken down into tasks, and those tasks can be committed to. An even better way to do this is if you use sprints, like 2-week sprints, for example, where you're defining things in 2 weeks at a time. The reason you would do this is because it allows you to have feedback loops, and you get to be more focused on smaller outcomes that add up to the bigger picture. And those feedback loops plus a focus on smaller outcomes means you actually increase the velocity of the team, you increase the clarity that the team is working in, all that works together. And then you just have several 2-week sprints to get to the end of that 90 days, and your team is fully aligned and fully committed to that process. Lastly, we want to support the team. This process includes you acting as an enabler and an advocate and a sponsor. This is you showing up looking for what's blocking them, you showing up looking for the resources they need. This is when you're using VIM, vision, intention, and means, the framework that is the universal pattern of success. You're making sure everything is in VIM, right? You're looking to make sure the vision is there. Is it attainable, sustainable, compelling? You're looking to see, is the intention there? Are we as a team acting with all of our willful action? Have we made trade-offs? Are we doing the right work? Do we have a strategy around it? And our means is all of our time, tools, talent, resources, all of us working cooperatively together. That's our means, right? So are we still in VIM, or is our VIM broken? So you want to work with the team to make sure the VIM is there and that there's no issues so that they can keep moving. And if there are issues, you're coming in to help remove those blockers. What that really means as a leader is you're not telling anybody who's wrong. You're not telling them what mistakes they made. Instead, you're diagnosing what's standing in the way of success, and you're systematically removing those things so that the team can move forward, or the individuals can move forward within the team so that they have what they need to succeed, because that's what only the leader can do. Only the leader can show up and help advocate for what clears the way for them and enables them to succeed. Obviously, if you have issues, if you have things that are going on, bad patterns, bad actors, you'll have to deal with that from more of an HR lens. But when we act in good faith and we assume everybody's a great performer and we already have A players on the team, this is the biggest disruption to success, is just they don't have what they need. And you need to help them get what they need. They either need more time, they need more resources, they need maybe tools or systems or software, or they need partners to collaborate with, or they need a different kind of meeting to be in. Like, help them get where they want to go. And lastly, I want you to think about the power of chickens, pigs, and champions as a way to understand this idea of who is in my team, what have I asked them to do, and how do I support them in this process. And the best thing a leader can do is help establish, when we're doing our problem solving, when we're doing our team planning, when we're doing all of our check-ins and our sprints, is just clarify who's the chicken, who's the pig, who's the champion. So a chicken is a collaborator. They take on small tasks. They're not really big doers. They come in with answers. They may have expertise. They may help just push things around to make things more clear. The chicken is always in collaboration mode. They are never accepting work. They don't get things to the finish line. They just play a small part. The pig is the one who accepts the work, owns the work, and gets it to the finish line. They don't necessarily do all the work. They just own it. They make sure it gets done. So as things have been delegated to vendors or others on the team, the pig is going to be responsible for deadlines, timelines. They're going to be responsible for resourcing and information so that the right work can get done in the right order. The pig is always thinking about the results and how do we deliver on time, deliver on budget. The pig gets it to the finish line, they get it done. The champion most often is you as the leader, but the champion is the advocate, the sponsor. They're the ones that are clearing the way and enabling. A lot of times the champion is talking to the board. The champion is talking to the others in the C-suite. The champion is talking to other folks and clearing the way, right? Making sure that they understand the path of success and helping the team get where they want to go. So those three roles, chickens, pigs, and champions, establish a great way to understand who's on the team and who's doing what in the right way, so that you don't have to get caught up in titles and special skills. They're expertise, basically, right? You can really just say, are you the chicken on this? Are you the pig on this? Like, what's going on? How do we understand who's got what? One of the great things to do in a meeting or in meetings that have this format is you can just literally say, who are my pigs on this? And then ask them, what will you do to be a pig? And they'll play back to you what they're going to own, what the timeline is, what they're committing to, because that's the format for pigs. And then when the chickens are there, they'll just literally say, I'm a chicken. I'm just here showing up, trying to give my best answers and take on small tasks. I'm not trying to be the pig. I'm not trying to own it. The reason we bring this up is because a lot of times leaders show up with answers and leaders show up with deep expertise, or maybe they have organizational knowledge that no one else has. And the room might think the leader is the pig because they have all the answers. And that's actually going the opposite direction. You do not want to be the one with all the answers where the team is looking at you as the pig, the one who owns it gets to the finish line, when somebody else in the team actually needs to own it and get it to the finish line. So I don't want to confuse this with like what Jocko talks about with the book Extreme Ownership. Every one of us as leaders and everybody in the team should all have ownership and high ownership. So I don't want to confuse these ideas of who has ownership, because all leaders have ultimate ownership. Ultimately, you need to get these things to the finish line. What I'm really talking about is accountability and responsibility, and pigs should be accountable and responsible. They should know they are the owner in that context to get things to the finish line. So when you do this, when you do the effort to know the team, connect the team, align the team, and support the team, what you'll find is they will very quickly gel and cohese. They'll operate in trust, and the velocity will increase, and they can get to the right work faster. And you'll move through the Tuckman model of forming, storming, norming, and performing much faster. And you'll also create an environment that's rich and fertile with communication and trust and clarity. And you're going to get more results through a high-performing team than anything else you can do. Because once you have an aligned team, all row in the same direction, all the big things that are standing in the way can get knocked down, because all of us is better than one of us, right? Like, so we don't want to divide and conquer and turn things into our ability with our own individual strengths. We want to come together as a team, because the collective team can get way more done and make a stronger impact if they're well directed. And that's the leader's job, to direct them well. Hey, glad you're here. Glad you watched this great content. Please like and subscribe for more just like this, and leave a comment. It helps us know that you're watching. And especially if you have questions, we'd love to help you out. I've got a great framework for you. It's called 4corequestions.com. It can be the difference between being confused to having clarity. So check that out. And we've got some more links in the description below.